You can call me Akin. When I lived in Budapest, they called me Akin, which in my language means peacock, but okay, anything, it's okay. All right, so I work for Nokia. I work in operations, so I'm one of those evil guys that Baruch was talking about. I lead a team of SRE engineers, and we work on a platform that's meant to monetize networks. So there was someone earlier on, right after lunch, bad spot, by the way, who came and talked about network APIs. So I'm going to sort of build on that, right? So he talked about the concept. He talked about what you do with those APIs. I'm going to tell you how we've used them and some other cool stuff. So before we start, what do you know about Nokia? Anybody can tell me 2 things you know about Nokia, at the risk of dating yourself. Fantastic. See, that's it. Everyone says phones, phones, phones. Now, thank you. So that's a great part of our legacy, right? Phones, but it's a small part of our business today. Nokia today is a company that literally powers the internet. So every time you use a mobile device, you are interacting with at least 10 Nokia devices. It could be a router, it could be an optical network device, it could be a subsea cable that's spanning across continents, or it could be your iPhone, where we have patents that are, some of our technology, our discoveries, our research, that's actually sat as a patent in one of the mobile devices you're using. So that's Nokia today. To cap it all up, we've got 9 Nobel Prizes, 7 Emmys, 5 Turing Awards, 2 Grammys, and 1 Oscar. So how many companies can boast of that? Anyhow. All right, so to the presentation today, I'm going to take us into the world of programmable networks. And programmable networks basically, so I'm going to talk about what a programmable network is, right? And why a programmable network, right? Why do you need that? I'm going to talk about what you can do with it. Then I'm going to talk about what we've done with it. And if I still have time, I'll then show you how you can do it in 5 minutes. So why programmable networks? So today you have a very simplified stack, right? You have your networks that are seen as a dumb pipe, right? So as a developer, if you're building anything that requires a mobile connectivity, basically, you're saying, give me access to the internet and get out of my way, right? And what that causes you to do is you over-engineer for sort of the idiosyncrasies, the challenges that you have with a network, for instance. So in August last year, there was some music festival in San Francisco, and you have these autonomous vehicles, these taxis, right? These driverless taxis driving all over San Francisco. And because people were blowing up on social media and sending Snapchats and stuff like that, the cars couldn't phone home. So they stopped in the middle of the street. Yeah, real thing. Look it up, right? So that's a simple, and the funny thing is, these cars have sometimes 2, 3 SIM cards. So they're talking to multiple networks, right? So they fail over, you try one, if it doesn't work, then you try another, and then try another. And that's a lot of over-engineering. You're really engineering for stuff that you shouldn't be doing, right? You're a developer, you're working on a connected car. You want to focus on what you're doing as opposed to trying to solve the network problems. So what we try to do is we now build networks that are a bit more intelligent, right? Those networks allow you to communicate with them in real time. So you're able to really talk to the network and tell the network what you need, when you need it, and the network is intelligent enough to respond to your needs in real time. So with an API, with a simple API, you'd say to a network, I'm going down this path, tell me what's the connectivity going to be like down that path. The network tells you, gives you that information, and then on the basis of that information, you can then tell the network to do certain things. Give me increased bandwidth, tell me the location of a device, all sorts of things, right? So this is slightly different than what the other speaker spoke about, but it's based on the same concept, right? So when he came here, he talked about Camara, he talked about Open Gateway, GSMA Open Gateway, and we're part of those standards bodies and those open source communities. But we really want to work on the cutting edge, right? And what that means when you allow developers to really interact with the network in a more dynamic manner is you get more intelligent applications that are built. There's more innovation on top of the network. And then, of course, the network providers really can, they're incentivized to invest more in the next generation of technology that gives you, faster speeds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So at Nokia, we went down the route of sort of incubating a small business to really push the boundaries of network programmability and exposing the programmability of the network to developers such as yourselves. And to achieve that, we built something called Network as Code. Network as Code is a platform that exposes network capabilities in a simplified manner. The first speaker that came on earlier in the morning talked about, she said, you mentioned a phrase that sort of stuck with me. You automate the meaningless stuff, anything you can automate, and stick to, what really makes sense. Stick to the core, right? Anything that's an add-on, you automate completely. In the past, if you wanted to, maybe retrieve the location of a device from a network, you would be 100 lines of code, right? What we've done is we've simplified that so that with 6 lines of code and changing 3 or 4 parameters with an SDK, you can do that, and you can do it today, right? The other thing is, I think someone asked the question when the other speaker was talking. He asked, what do I do about multiple networks and different versions and stuff like that? What we do at Nokia is we know the networks, right? So we abstract all of that complexity, right? And we serve you one platform, one SDK that allows you to talk to, T-Mobile, allows you to talk to AT&T, A1 in Zagreb, BT in the UK, any platform, any network, anywhere in the world, one SDK. That's very different than what you have with all the others who are, everyone's and their uncle has a platform. So it's one source of truth, one technology that allows you to do what you need to do in a very simplified manner. So I'm not quite sure, but I think he also shared, some of the APIs that are out there. So fraud detection APIs are, let's say, more mature today, right? So you've got the SIM swap, which basically checks, whether or not you have the, let's call it whether or not the SIM has been changed or swapped in a short period of time, over a short period of time. You've got KYC fill-in, which just gets your data from the network and pre-populates maybe a banking app or something of the sort. And then you have the ones in the middle, your location and status APIs, where you can retrieve the location of a device and those kind of, again, more read-type activities. But then on the far right, you have your advanced APIs. And those advanced APIs really allow you to do crazy stuff. You can actually ask for a logical subsection of a network and say between Miami and, I don't know, some other location, give me a dedicated slice of the network that provides a certain amount of latency, a certain amount of throughput, and that will be guaranteed down that path. This is really a game changer. What I'm going to talk to you today about in a few minutes is one of the use cases where we've sort of applied this sort of, let's say, advanced capabilities of a programmable network. These are the APIs that we have available on our platform today. So it's the location, the device status, quality of service on demand, and what we call specialized networks, where you can ask for a logical slice of the network. So in whatever industry you look at today, there is an applicability for these, right? Whether you're talking about gaming, right, or it's with, I don't know, virtual reality, or with a beyond line of sight drone, right? Where there's one of these things we did where you had the guy piloting the drone was sat in Belgium, and the drone was in Germany, and it was piloted over a 5G network. So things like that really change the industry completely, right? And it allows you to innovate beyond what we can see today. These are some of the things that we've done, right? I'm going to pick just one of those and talk about that. Then I'm going to show you in 2 minutes how you can do that yourself. So I'm going to talk about the one in the middle, which is a very simple use case. What we did was we partnered with a couple of companies at the port of Antwerp in Belgium. That's the second largest port in Europe. And what this company does is a company called CIFA. What they do is they pilot ships remotely. So you have a guy that's sitting in the middle of Antwerp somewhere, and he's basically, sort of the pilot of some ship, miles away. And in order to do that, you need to have an excellent network, right? The connectivity has to be at its very peak, right? But at the same time, you have at the port, there are other devices, there are people using the network. So there's competition for sort of the network resources. So what we were able to do was we identified that the areas where you have those high traffic on the water, where there's a need for increased awareness, right? So the guy who's piloting the ship has to be able to see what's happening in real time with 5K video, right? At all times, right? And then those same locations where you have high cell load, which means people are really using the network. And what we did then was we geofenced that location. And then we used the location API from the network, right? So the application is constantly asking the network, tell me where the ship is at any given time down this path. Now, you could use GPS for this, but GPS is reliable, but it can be spoofed, right? And so for a critical device like this, you want to use something that cannot be spoofed. There's no way you can spoof a network location API. All right, so, and then as the device, in this case, the vessel gets closer to the geofenced zone, what happens then is the application then tells the network, now this guy, the vessel is now in an area where it actually needs the critical quality of service, and you can see then the quality of service is triggered dynamically by the application. And this application was written by a college kid, right? A couple of days, and he wrote this application, and we actually tried it on a ship. The bottom line is, this allows the network provider to intelligently use the network instead of having 50 different devices all competing for the network quality at the same time. What he does then is he's able to hand over the network quality to the devices that need it when they need it, right? So when you're going through a critical path, you need the network resources, that's handed over to you. You can use this for things like Teams. You can use this for drones. Imagine the possibilities are endless. I'm going to talk you through very quickly. I have just a few more minutes. I could use slides, but does anyone want to see me do this with the SDK directly on the... Okay, so don't kill me if this doesn't go, if everything goes wrong. All right, let's see. All right, so this is what the platform looks like. I will log in. No, I'm not connected. Golly. Okay, so let's see. Guest. Yep. Fingers crossed. No, not you. Okay, connected. Let's see. Let's try that again. Yeah, connectivity is bad. Okay, so let's try again. Yes, we're back. All right. So go to our documentation page, right? Let's try the location API. This is really simple. I can demonstrate this easily. So what we do is we've abstracted all the complexity out of this, and we make it so simple that with a few lines of code, again, with an SDK, you're able to just go in and really just grab the code snippet, dump that in your code, and you can execute. For the geeks, if you really want to geek out, we can do this in 20 different languages as well. I can show you what that looks like in here as well. Okay, so copy this. I'm going to go to an IDE very simply, and I'm just going to dump that in there. So what this does is, if you imported the SDK, you need to create a client object, and for that you need a token. So I'll go back to the platform. Okay, on here, my dashboard. I grab an application key. I come in here, and I dump that bad boy. Okay. All right, so the next thing then after that is you create you need a device, which is literally your telephone number. Now, we allow you to use different parameters, IP addresses, all sorts of things, right? But at its very simplest level, all you need is a telephone number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete a lot of this stuff because we don't need it for this use case today, right? And all I need is a telephone number. I'm going to go grab a telephone number that's, I'm sure I can do this. Control-C. Nope. Nope. Wrong one. Okay. And then I'm going to dump that in here. Okay. And then max age basically determines how far back you want the location to be determined, right? So I'm going to go 60 seconds just to be there. Now, print obviously displays it on the terminal, but what I want to do is I'm a bit particular about this. I want to make this latitude, longitude. I'll tell you why in a minute. Okay, so now I'm done with that. I'm going to have to save it. Yep. Yeah, just save. Yes. And what it does there is it retrieves the location of the device. So it tells you what's the latitude on the top, 41, blah, blah, blah. What's the longitude, right? And then to make it more interesting, it tells you what's the city, what's the country. This is in Spain, right? What's the exact location? What's the civic address? And what's the city? It's in Barcelona. Now, just to be sure that I'm correct, I copy that. And I'm going to dump that in, yeah, it's fine. Google or some sort of map. Okay, here we go. And dump that here. And just click this. And the device is in Barcelona. I don't speak Spanish, so I don't know exactly what that is. But that's how simple it is to use network as code. I think that's pretty much it. I'm out of time. Thank you.